Get ready to experience the Unity Shabbat, a celebration of praise and glory to the Most High Yah, hosted by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This event promises a day filled with spiritual upliftment, community unity, and joyful fellowship. Come together with fellow brothers and sisters to honor and worship as we celebrate the divine presence in our lives. For more information and to reserve your spot, contact us at 347-622-9090 or email us at info@baitdcb.org. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, rejoice, and experience the power of unity and faith. Once again, brothers and sisters, experience the beauty of unity and faith at Unity Shabbat, presented by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This special day is dedicated to praising the Most High Yah and coming together as a community and worship and celebration. Whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment or simply looking to connect with like-minded individuals, this event offers an uplifting experience for all. Reserve your spot today by contacting us at 347-622-9090 or emailing us at info@baitdcb.org. Let's gather in unity and embrace the spirit of togetherness as we honor the divine presence in our lives. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH. We are located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. We are located at 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. And we thank you all for joining us today. First, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom, early Shabbat Shalom, as this program is pre-recorded. So we give glory to the Most High, King of the universe, Yehudah, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. For all of the things that he does for us, we thank him and we praise him. We thank him for knowledge of self, for all that he does for us, even in our lives. And we pray that the creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with us all. Thanking you all once again. So today we will be going over a review, or just, reviewing the portion Kitisa, and also going over Proverbs 21 as we continue in the series of the Proverbs that Nasik has been going through. And we hope that everyone is enlightened, and we pray that no one is misled, and that everything that is brought forth is of great understanding to everyone. So at this moment, we're going to move straight ahead, and I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Teller of the Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform I'm on, DCB channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel, to the host, Chief Uziel, to the princes, Chief Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, visitors to the channel. And brothers and sisters, I greet you all in the time of forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off. Adonai Septai Takufia Gichiratheka, Lord Omdam my lips, and my mouth shall declare thy praise. I'll be wrapping up with Proverbs, Mishlei, the 21st chapter, and I'm going to touch on Kitisa, and which is the sidra for this particular that's past. Highlight some points in there, and which is an interesting sidra in a sense that you're talking about taking the sum And mind you now, when we was reading the last few sidros, all this information, and so it's important that we have a chronological concept of time, in a sense. All this information we've been reading the last few weeks is actually what Moses is being told while he's in the mountain the first time. So it gives you, and a lot of times, and I say that because a lot of times when we look at the revelation and that we have, and a lot of times, sometimes the book don't be in a chronological order. Sometimes we got to pay attention to some details that was spoken on earlier, and they say, is this in order or just out of order? And then to make more sense of the subject matter. Before I go into it, I'd like to address a couple of items and questions that, well, it was only basically one question about reference to where would you pray, in your house. I believe it's something to that effect. And you choose a spot that's comfortable for you, that you feel the most close to the Creator, where you could say, well, I won't be disturbed. So most times it don't be the bedroom, but if that's your spot, I know, and if I don't go out, I'm fortunate enough to most of the times, go to a place of worship, 7 days a week. But if you don't have a spot, and the times I don't go, I tend to say prayers in one location, one spot, all the time. That seemed to be the most comfortable for me. And the thing is that more so than the place that you in your, as far as your surroundings, more so than your surroundings, I should say, more so than your surroundings that you in, it's more important to be in the place that you want to be, to petition the Creator. And that's what we try to focus on. We try to get into that space as we go on to the particular portion of dealing with the tabernacle and the priesthood and everything like that. Our whole purpose was to create a sacred space for the Creator, but not for the Creator to dwell in that space. The Creator wanted to dwell within each and every individual. So though you may have a location that you may stand, that's not the place where you want to create in. You want to create it within you. So even when we look and talk about the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant is, that we have that particular spot that the Kohen Haggadah goes once a year in, and it's just, he might do certain prayers, but the main thing, if God going to talk to him, is get communication from God. So he try to interact with the Creator in that space, and God will commune with him, but not that God will actually dwell there. And so we always try, and when we talk about the Mishkan itself, God created everything in the universe, but he wanted us to create a sacred space solely for him. Not that he's going to dwell in it. And I want to make it clear, because a lot of people say, and I can understand, you could have, say, that just the house of a crown prince. If I was, I mean, super wealthy, and that might be my house, but I might not stay in that particular house. I might stay at this other little house if I was wealthy enough. Well, the thing is that, but I like that house because that house was specifically made for me. It's almost like that peculiar treasure when I talk about a segula. All right, it has a value to me. All right, so and so the Creator does so much for us that we do so little for Him, and so he just said, I want to be for you to make me a space that shows an invite. But I don't want to dwell in the space. I want to dwell intimately with you. And that's one of the things that we look at when we go over this portion. And bearing that in mind, you know, when you say your prayers, they had a discussion where I was at yesterday about gratitude, and gratitude is being thankful. And a lot of people, you know, have this expression, and I'm not going to speak too long on that, have this expression about saying, well, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Well, more so than being blessed, being thankful. But when you pray, more so than being thankful, is giving the praise. And I said that, you know, in a discussion I had yesterday during the service, is during a lecture that was going on in the service, is that our mother, Kana, Samuel's Ema, that actually Samuel's mother in the scripture, she have a formula for prayer that's so unique that most well-written prayer books and stuff like that in a literature would normally focus on praise, then thanks, and then if possible, then you might have a shopping list. I need some help. I need this here. I need that. But it's the praise, because when I say more so than thanking the Creator, it's the praise of the Creator. You acknowledging all the greatness that exists concerning Him in our little finite minds, and we're gracious. You know, I mean, we're satisfied with that. He's who He is, and then we're thankful not only God who He is, but now what He might do for us and what He might avoid some things, you know, in that sense, because sometimes you can be thankful for not being beat down with certain plagues. I'm thankful. So that is something that I always got. So most times when people think about thankfulness, they think about thankfulness about things you receive, but you want to be more thankful not only for those things that you receive, but those things that you didn't receive that could be negative impact in your life, that you was avoid, you know, that the Creator kept you safe from. And then you might say, like the Creator might not know, but the Creator already know everything. You might say, now I need something specific in my life. And I know I'm not going to wear you out with what I want, but I'm going to voice what I want and what I need in my life. Now, what I need, I know you know better than me what I need. But as I see it, I'm going to still voice this thing because I feel it might be something lacking here or lacking there. So those things there, you know, and one of the things before I go further into the scripture, because it's important as we go further into the scripture, especially in Kitasa, is that a lot of times when we think about our wants, our desires, and we know the Creator knows better than what we need. We voice those things, you know, and we voice it because we feel that we lacking. And sometimes the lack might be in the sense that because we're not ready to deal with the blessing. So those are some of the things here that going forward, and I will touch on that as we go forward again. But Kitasa, it picks up from the 30th chapter of Exodus, the 11th verse, and it continues all the way through the end of the 34th chapter before you get to the 35th, which is YAH. All right, so in a sense, the Creator talking to Moses at this particular time to to start to number the children of Israel and talk about the half shekel. So we get that, talking about the half shekel, and it gives the reason why. And that's what I'm saying. Everything to deal with the tabernacle itself, everything that was asked for concerning the tabernacle, the Creator gives a reason for the most part why that item is needed to build this particular tabernacle. And there's so much details in it, and it's only three things we read in the scriptures where the Creator told mankind to actually build physically. And the thing that we read that we was told to build physically, first is the ark that Noah had. Second is the tabernacle that's in the wilderness. And third, though, was David's idea. It was the plans that God showed him. So I know you might want to figure out, I'm going to make this more, a better ambiance and this and that and the other. But if you're going to build a house, your son will build it, but he's going to build it according to my specifications. So what we learn is that when the Creator has specifics in the sense of how we should serve him and what we should do for him. It's not arbitrarily how we think that we should serve the Creator, but what the Creator wants and how he wants us to serve him. Those things are very important in our lives. So it talks about the silver, the half shekel for the maintenance. Because a lot of times we build a project, even when we set up the bill and then we finish, if we happen to go further and complete the project, a lot of times when we complete the project, we don't often maintain the institution, or the project itself. So a lot of times we form a lot of institutions, a lot of organizations, and then a lot of times they go belly up. All right. So the thing is that the Creator said, not only are you going to do this, you're going to maintain it, and then everybody going to take part in the upkeep of this this particular enterprise. Excuse me. And so we're not going to the items, because I'm going to touch on that in the last couple of sidrotes that be left in Exodus. So a lot of times you might see me just skip by it now, but I'm going to revisit those points. And if there's questions about some of the points that I haven't revisited, we could discuss it. Leave a question in the chat, and I'll do my best to try to address it. One of the areas, and when we go forward, we talk about the holy anointing oil. So we got that. We talk about the incense that's supposed to be used in the golden altar. And those holy oil and the incense was only exclusively for the service of the Creator. All right. The anointing oil only is used to anoint certain people. All right. And anoint certain furnitures. So it's not only the oil that's anointing people, but it also anoints certain items in the service of the Creator. The incense is only to be used for the purpose that the Creator had it designed it to be. And some of the spices and fragrance that he mentioned, we're not sure what they are. All right. So when people say, well, I know what is a sweet spice, I know what a bitter spice is, and in some of this, the ingredients could be sort of toxic. So it's the blend of the apothecary, the ones that put it together, is so unique that, and it got to be in a certain weight measurement, a certain measurement, and also the process got to be done in a certain order. Now you can have all the ingredients for a cake, but you got to put them in at different intervals in baking the cake. Most people that know that bake know that this is the list of ingredients. I got XYZ of ingredients, but I got to put them in a particular order in order for this thing to come out correctly. So that's the same thing that we learn, with the tabernacle itself. As we go further, I just want to bring out that now we get the names of the two main guys who are going to be over the work. Bezalel and Holiab in the 31st chapter of Exodus. It said, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, see, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehudah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, and in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to devise skillful works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in cutting of stones for setting, and in carving of wood, to work in all manner of workmanship. And I, behold, have appointed with him Aholiab, the son of Achisamach, of the tribe of Dan, and in the hearts of all that are wise-hearted I put wisdom, that they may make all that I have commanded thee. All right. So now, what we have here is a real leader. And God showed that these guys here are real leaders, foremen, or supervisors that qualify. And I say qualify in the sense that, first of all, they talk about CHOKMAH, then they talk about BINAH, and they talk about da'at, wisdom. Then they talk about, understanding, and then they talk about knowledge. D.C.B, the channel you're on, D.C.B, da'at, CHOKMAH, BINAH. The ones that's on the Jewish community, kabod, that stands for CHOKMAH, BINAH, and da'at. So that's the CHOKMAH, and they say BINAH and da'at actually follows exactly the line that you find when they talk about Bezalel. When they say kabod, that's the acronym for CHOKMAH. Then BINAH and da'at, the same area here. So I just want to share that with you, that, though D.C.B have it set up a different way when they say da'at, CHOKMAH, BINAH, it's basically coming from this particular portion here, where you find that this is what the creator, plus the spirit of the creator, is not just having those other virtues of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but it also has the other virtue of saying the spirit of the creator within the individual to work. So that means that puts it on a whole nother level. Because you got to have CHOKMAH, and but yet you might not have that still spirit. You got to understand, you might not have that same kind of spirit. You might have you might not have that kind of spirit to really work. And then you might, and that don't mean that it doesn't acknowledge the creator, because we read about a prophet, which we're going to encounter later on, called Bilam, or Balaam, as most people would say. And he definitely knew about the true and living God, but his spirit, in a godly way, in a righteous way, was different. Was in a negative sense. So, and he wound up, losing his life later on. But We know that, sometimes you could have those attributes and corrupt them. But here, since he got the Spirit of God in him, along with those attributes, then it wouldn't be a corruption and these guys working on such a laudable enterprise. And then when we look at and talk about, it takes it from the largest tribe and one of the small, a small tribe such as Dan. And so it took from, one of the, the most tribe where the kings come out of, and it takes one from where the judges come out of, Dan means judge, so, and it means that it took from a big tribe and a smaller tribe. So that means that it doesn't, your birth, it's not your control, under your control, as we're going to touch about a little bit in Proverbs, but actually what you do after you're born and come to this world, certain things are under your control. All right. So the thing is that I will get to that, maybe speak on it briefly when I get further into the Proverbs. But what's interesting is that some guys are just good in sheet metal. Some guys just good in bricklaying. Some guys just good in carpentry. Some guys just good in making incense. Other guys are good in making oils. These guys, especially Basilel, is good, and also these guys had tailoring skills. These guys was able to do everything firsthand on the Mishkan. That means anything that was needed for the priesthood, from the garments, from the stone cutters. You gotta be trained to cut stones and cut them a certain size and set them. And set stones. So some people could cut stones, but some people can't set a stone in the jewelry business. So these guys had the skill to do all that, everything, every detail that it says to make that tabernacle, and then be able to have it operating with all the paraphernalia that's necessary. These guys, as an individual, had all that skill, but they wasn't the ones going to do all the work. So a good supervisor should know every job detail underneath them. Most of us become leaders in different areas, and a lot of times it might be a popularity situation, and we don't have the skill to deal with all those details down below us. But at least you got to recognize what need to be done. Even if you don't have the skill, as a good supervisor, a good leader, you got to recognize what be done and employ the best person to do it. So your recognition of what could be a flaw. And the reason why these guys would have to be that skillful, because everything that the creator want had to be perfect, because it weighs between life and death. So they needed that kind of level of skill and expertise, because everything that's going to be implemented in the Mishkan and everything the priests have to wear going to have a life and death, situation involved. So they couldn't be off not one iota on anything they're pursuing. And then as we go further, when we talk about the building of the temple, I just digress just a little bit, and I say digress in the sense of that wasn't part of the Torah. That when we talk about the building of the temple, that you had one guy called Hiram, and he was just good in brass. He had one area of expertise that he was good at, and it told you what he worked on. So when we talk about him, he just had one level of expertise. These guys here could do it all. And that's what makes this here so much more unique when we look at the temple being bigger and whatever the case is in a location. But when you look and study about the tabernacle and study about the people that work on the tabernacle, these guys here had much more skill than you had at King Solomon time working on that temple. Can you imagine that? Because anything that was done in the temple, these guys had the skill to do that if they had to work on that. So that would make it so unique. Then we're going to skip on down, and it's talking about the Shabbat day, the 12th verse. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, you shall keep my Shabbats, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctify you. You shall keep my Shabbats, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that profaneth it shall be surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. All right. And then it's on 6 days shall the work be done. On the 7th day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he ceased from work and rested. So I read that whole thing out because the Shabbat is most important out of all details, and it says a covenant. So we have several covenants that we have, and also it's also an outward sign. So one thing you can say, I got a contract, but do you have a symbol of the contract that you have? So we have several covenants that we have with the Creator, and a lot of times we don't think about all the different covenants that we have, with the Creator. But Shabbat just happened to be one, and when it comes right again after designs is given to work on the Mishkan and the Tabernacle, and that is the state to Moses, and this is being told to Moses while he's still up in the mountain the first time, not the second time, the first time he's up there. He's being told all this then 40 days. And yet when we look at it at that particular vein, that God letting them know, when it comes to Shabbat, y'all stop. You ain't gonna do this in no 1 week. You ain't gonna do this in a few weeks. It took us several months. We get an actual time frame of how long that we started working on the tabernacle, and actually when it was erected. So you're talking about close to about under 6 months, under 6 months, 5 and some change, whatever the case is, give or take. So that's how long it took us to build this. But when it came to Shabbat, work stopped on that enterprise, which is so laudable. And a lot of times brothers will say, I'm doing the Lord's work. Shabbat. We in a sad condition that we're forced to do a lot of things that we normally wouldn't do had we been in the perfect, environment. So these are some of the things we got to consider how important the Shabbat is. And and talk about cut off, then they talk about being put to death. All right. So when you put to death, you definitely cut off from your people. But a lot of people look at Yom Kippur as being the holiest day of the year. And, they call it the Shabbat or Shabbats and everything like that. And it is a holy day. But if you don't observe Yom Kippur, you only cut off from your people. When you don't observe Shabbat, it carries a death penalty. So Shabbat is most important. And then the Creator know that, we in this, and as a punishment, that we can't observe Shabbat to the fullest, that he desire us to do it and uphold it. And he gives a reason why it's so important is that he created the heavens and earth in 6 days. They created, most people say, well, if you God, that powerful, why did you have to take 6 days to create the heavens and earth? Why didn't you just knock it off in one shot? Why it took each and every day for you to do something and stop? Do something and stop. Do something and stop. Because you have a project that must be done in intervals, and you got to be able to say, this is the interval where we're going to take a pause for the cause. All right. And so when it comes down to the Mishkan itself, we have a project that we do. No matter how laudable, you take a pause for the cause. And when we read the prayer rested, at the end, we will think, for those that might not know the Hebrew and the connotation that is used in, we would think, the Creator got tired, so he had to take a breather. He had to get a little nap on, or sit back down and take a glass of water or something like that. No, what it says in that he cease. So the term it uses cease or go on strike, and he used the word Shabbat from his creative work. In that sense. So God had used the word where it said Shabbat means you could say part of the word is sit, but it also means to be on strike. So cease, cut out. I'm not doing this today. I'm not doing this now. And therefore to make a difference. So those are some things I want to highlight. And that then I just want to bring a couple more little points here about the next verse. It said 18. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of speaking with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tablets of the testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God. That I want you to everybody highlight that in their mind. I mean, I'm not one of the guys that don't like to highlight my book, because as you grow and as you study, you're gonna find that this one was more important, just as important. But now you got a rainbow-looking book. You got green, yellow, blue, all the pink highlighted throughout the scriptures. And then you say, well, I know I highlighted this spot before, but I can't seem to find it because I got everything else highlighted. And I don't know what color was used at the time. So, but highlight it in your mind in that sense that the only thing is written with the finger of God is them tablets of stone. When people say the book was written by man, yes, we agree with that. But the laws came from the Creator. When people say Moses was delayed, as we're going to find out in this particular portion, they've seen that Moses is delayed. We find out also that though he's delayed, according to them, he's not delayed. They expect him at a certain time. So in order for a person to be delayed, you have to have an idea what time that individual is coming back. So they say they've seen the delay, as we're going to read about just a little bit. And one of the things that we focus on is that I tell you here why Moses didn't come back down. He had to wait for dismissal. So when God finished speaking, he handed them that. That's when Moses decided to descend. No, as some people say, enough talk, and that was it. And he handed them, 10 statements, written with the finger of God. So the Creator, and this first time, supplied the stone and the writing with the concepts on it, but Moses go down as a delivery, because Moses came up with empty-handed. So, and I like to focus on that because that's important. Everything comes from the Creator. Now, so now when we talk about the descent of the golden calf, I'm just going to speak on it more so than go through every little detail in it. As that It says, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mount, the people gathered themselves together against Aaron and said unto him, this 32nd chapter, up, make us a god, who shall go before us. For this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. All right. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden rings, which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters. So, Geno Jenner is always talking about men that wear earrings, but I mean, some preachers say, man, women only wear earrings. But we find this here, and we find it even before the law, with Jacob's kids, But we find it here specifically stated by Aaron, the first high priest, right, that the sons had earrings. All right, and he said, snatch them up. Say your wives, your sons, and your daughters. Can't be no more clearer than that. And bring them unto me, and all the people broke off the golden rings which were in their ears and brought them unto Aaron. All right, which is important, that everybody didn't give up there. The wives, everybody doesn't give it up. Aaron told them to take it from them. Now, can you imagine? You want an idol, you want to worship, and I'm trying not to be too long in this here before I get into the Proverbs, but they're just, you want to worship something because you say, this man Moses. So you're talking derogatory already. All right. This man Moses, he's a nobody now. This the guy that was recognized in Egypt, was famous in Egypt. But yet you say, this man Moses, and you know that God brought us out. We know that God did all the wonders. But yet we say, this man Moses. So a lot of times, and this is only 40 days. 40 days after we read Exodus the 20th chapter, when God spake all these words, saying. So can you imagine the gravity that you can't, I mean, some people take longer than that, say, look here, I sever my relationship with another individual. They take longer than that to really say, I'm really done with this relationship. And yet, we as a people allow something to go down in 40 days after such a great revelation at that time. And we sent Moses on the mission. We sent him on it. We nominated him for the mission. And he's not, and so since we ended up there, and he went up there for a purpose, and then we delegated him that job, that shows that we had very little faith. But then what I want to bring out more is that, Aaron, we know he fashioned it, and the quote, the famous quote, this is thy God, O Israel. But I want to read it carefully in the 4th verse of the 32nd chapter. It said, and he received at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made it a molten calf. Now, we're going to pause there. That's important. All right. So we know Aaron, did what he did. He had a little skill. So we know he did what he did. All right. But after that semicolon, it said, and they said, who's the they? And they said, this is thy God, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord. Now, he said tomorrow. All right. Now you got the calf now. But the feast is going to be tomorrow. Can't you imagine that? So this item is so important that a lot of people tend to speed over that. And they blame Aaron to say, look here, you made a calf. Now you're going to say, Israel, this is your God? When we read clearly, it says they. Who is the they? All right. And is it Israelites or non-Israelites? We know we're left with a mixed multitude. And it's important to go into, which I won't have time to really go into too much of it, but it's important to go into, because when we get into the Moses, we know he comes down, and, see what's going on. And he meets Joshua, and Joshua thinks it's war in the camp. And Moses said, this is people that, they don't sound like people that's being overcome or anything like that. But, do I hear, singing? What's going on? Because I haven't got back with the reward yet. So what you singing? I mean, God talked to me and he stopped. Did he tell you something before I got there? And then when he seen the calf, he was upset. He broke the tablets. Broke up everything that God gave him. It wasn't his to break. But if you haven't received the contract, then a lot of times people say, well, they didn't deserve it. But if you haven't received the contract, it make it null and void. So it like hinders the crime somewhat, the breach of contract somewhat, because you're getting this. And it said the tablets, we already, Moses was told that those things are supposed to go into the ark. He got the description of the whole tabernacle. He haven't laid this out before them yet. So when we talk about Teruma and all that other stuff there, this is Moses getting information and while he up on high. And we're going to see the little differences as we go forward. So they haven't even got all this detail. So God has so much for us. And you say, well, didn't God know they're going to mess up? But it teaches a lot of lessons, which I'm not, a lot of the time to go into, but it's a lot of lessons that can be extrapolated from that an encounter that Moses on the mountain and the people impatient down there, and that they doing certain things, and and they say, well, it was supposed to be to replace Moses, and then how could the people allow a violation of that commandment? And Aaron himself. So it's so much there. I just want to bring on, just touch on one little thing in reference to the glory. Moses sees the glory of God and the 13 attributes. And I'm going to read that just a little bit in reference to that. All right, when Moses, after he said all those on the Lord's side, the Levites jump up in there, but he only killed 3,000. So 3,000 is not even 1% of the men of war. So how did so few control so many? How did so many let so few get them in trouble? If only 3,000 died. So these are some of the questions that we get, we need to explore what kind of influence certain people in society can have on other people in society at large. And so when we know automatically when Moses, uses the term and say, he used the term stiff-necked, saying, God called us stiff-necked, and they use stiff-necked and in that sense. But that's one of the one of the things when we look at is that Moses used that as a defense. And as I often say, if you're in court being judged for grand theft or better yet, embezzlement, I can use either one of them. And the guy said, yeah, surely, they accuse of grand theft. Surely they stole the grand theft. Surely they embezzled and stole this car and embezzled some money. But they embezzled it for a good cause. They stole it for a good cause. that you reflect, say, well, what kind of lawyer I got here? What kind of defense attorney I got here? You know, yeah, they got the skill, they got the will to steal, but they got the will to do what's right, and as well. They stiff-necked it, but they're stiff-necked in this route and what they believe. So possibly they could be stiff-necked about God. And out of all the people that ever exist, only Israelites survived empires, and we never had an empire. Can you imagine that? We never had an empire, but yet we survived empires. So, because of our way of life. That's important. Well, one of the things I want to bring about these attributes here, and I just want to read just a little bit of that, and then I'm going to Proverbs. In the 17th, all right. Well, Moses plead for understanding, but we're gonna go. And we know he talk about you can't get rid of these people and blot them out. So we know all about that. But God refused to travel with us in this thing. But one of the things that we find is that God said, "I will blot the people out and make a great nation of Moses." A lot of us would have jumped at that job, jumped at that opportunity. But then a wise individual, Moses, saying, "Look, it's your reputation that's at stake, and not so much about you wiping the people out, but your reputation at stake. Other people going to think otherwise." And that's one of the things he brought out. And so when we look at those issues there, and there's not so much stuff that we talk about, but the chapter's too long. And I want to read about the glory that Moses has said in reference to it. And it says in the 33rd chapter, just on the 12th verse, and Moses said unto the Lord, "See, thou sayest unto me, bring up this people, and thou shalt not let me know whom thou shalt send with me. Yet thou hast said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me now thy ways, that I may know thee, to the end that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people." And he said, "My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest." And he said unto him, "If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For when now shall it be known that I have found grace in thy sight, I and thy people? Is it not in that thou goest with us, so that we are distinguished, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth?" The only greatness we got is the Creator. That is our badge of honor. That is our greatness. And and as we go forward, we're going to read about, and the Lord said to Moses, "I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight." Sound like Noah and the worst of times. All right, we're talking about find grace in the sight. Noah found grace in the sight of the Creator. So Moses got the same accolade in that sense that Noah had. At the worst time of the people on the earth. Said, so it goes, and I know thee by name. And he said, "Show me, I pray thee, thy glory." And he said, "I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy." And he said, "Thou cannot seize my face, for man shall not see me and live." And the Lord said, "Behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon the rock, and it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by, I will put thee in a cleft of the rock, and I will cause thee, I will cover thee with my hand until I have passed by. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back, but my face shall not be seen. And then a lot of people ask about that, and then when we go into the attributes, within it, um, um, we find a lot of stuff. But when you go into the 34th chapter, where it's important, and you find a glimmer of, and the Lord said unto Moses, hew thee two tables of stone, like in the first, and I will write upon the two tables the words that were on the first table, which thou didst break, and be ready by the morning, and come up in the mountain unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me on the top of the mount, and no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount, neither let the flock nor the herds and the feed before that mount. All right, so now that's important, this verse here, because Moses up here pleading, and I want to bring that out because a lot of times people can't see the 3 times that Moses actually ascended. But he ascended up to plead about the sin of the golden calf, but he didn't come up with the tablets. I mean, no stones, rather. No stones cut out. It's only at this point in juncture that he's told to go through it. And I will pick up the next time, hopefully when, I'm going to the Proverbs now, but I'll pick up next time and try to touch on some of the things before we go into Quahel, and we're going to the Proverbs now. But one of the things we find is that Moses came up to plead after the sin of the golden calf, and after the 3,000 that was destroyed. And God said, all right, go down and get them tablets, get some stones, and come back up. We just read that. And when he said, come back up, and I will grave on it. As we finish later on, you're going to find that Moses' face shines afterwards. So I will touch on some of the things that I just stopped there in that sense. But I want to give a chronological setting for the 3 times that Moses actually went up. And it's 40 days each time. So it's actually going to be 40 days. And we find out there was 40 days each time because we find more detail in the book of Deuteronomy when Moses gives a recap of this event. So, so a lot of times we just think of they sin, they come back up, and he got the tablets, where he up in the mountain anyway, so just carved the tablets right there where he at. But he had to go back down and get some tablets. After all that, after a lot of stuff to go transpire, and then after you go up and God write on it, and then the glorious scene and everything like that, then that's when Moses' face began to shine, which we'll touch on next time. So we're going to go straight to Proverbs 21st. So there's so much stuff in this chapter that, a lot of times we don't get a chance to really examine all the little details in there, but it's really remarkable when we study it and see how great God is, and the episodes that transpire, and the shuffle of a people, between the mixed multitude and the nation of Israel. And we find here in general that God want to slay the Israelites and make a nation of Moses. But what we find more specific in Deuteronomy is that when Moses telling the story, he telling the story in Deuteronomy, we got the date when Deuteronomy starts, and he telling the story after his brother Aaron did. And he said, and God was going to be ready to kill Aaron. So if you're going to kill Aaron, he's going to kill y'all. So if he speaks on that level, when he recapped the story in between the 9th and the 10th chapter of Deuteronomy, that God was angry enough to slay Aaron at that time. Aaron's already dead when Moses telling the story, because we got the exact date and time of Aaron's death. Only guy on the Roach Codish too. Only guy we got this exact same time, and we got the actual time that Moses decided to talk about this story in Deuteronomy. So that's why I can't emphasize enough that we gotta always focus on chronological, areas in the scriptures when we study, especially the first 5 books, because those supposed to be a rule and guide to our faith and practice. So we're going to Proverbs 20, which I'm gonna speed through a little bit. Proverbs the 21st chapter.
Going to the book of Proverbs, chapter
And I'm going
20.
to highlight the whole Proverbs, because I know I'm not going to elaborate on everything. So I'm going to give you a whole highlight on it. All right.
Proverbs
So
chapter 21, verse 1.
yeah, right. Yeah. All right. It contains God's ways and man's. It talks on pride and arrogance, shortcuts, falsehood and truth, free will, martial relationships, corrections, compassion, giving gifts, good and evil, loving pleasure, the wise and the foolish, the power of speech, indolence, life goals, the sacrifice of the wicked. And you said the sacrifice of the wicked. That's strange, yeah. But let's go ahead. Let's jump into this.
Proverbs 21, verse 1, it reads, "The king's heart is in the hand of Yehovah as the water courses. He turneth up whithersoever he will."
Right then and there. Let you know, first of all, that the king ain't all powerful. The king ain't all supreme. Say the creator control him. When they want to control him. I mean, control the power. So therefore, even if he's a despot, a corrupt, cruel individual, the creator himself could censor him immediately, eliminate him immediately. So therefore, we do best to try to be on the right side of the issues. Continue.
Verse 2, "Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yehovah
Uh-huh.
weigheth the hearts."
Ain't that something? When we think of it, we say, "Wow, that's a good thought I had." So we normally see things that we think of as that's the way things should be, and it's not the way we think of it. That's why a lot of times it's to create a way at the heart. What is your ultimate intentions? That's what it's talking about. What is your motive operandi, as they would say? Are you actually doing this for the good of humankind or society, or you doing this for your own selfish reason? And these are some of the things to consider. So, when you talk to yourself, a lot of times you're going to agree with yourself. A lot of times you agree with yourself because I thought it up. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds logical. Continue.
Verse 3, "Do righteousness and justice. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to Yehovah than sacrifice."
Ain't that something? So, in other words, when people always say, "Well, the law condemns," you're condemned by the law and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is that if you're doing what is right, sacrifices don't make you a good person. It's your actions that make you a good person. And that's what it says. There's more, that's more important, you know, than sacrifice is obeying the will of the creator. So when we, if we don't know the will of the creator, where there's no law, then you have no standard. And so when people say, well, they did away with the law, everybody's condemned by the law. So tell me what standard you adhere to. Because if you adhere to a standard, then it's a rule of thumb, and a rule of thumb is a law. So, so sometimes, when people say things and you listen carefully, you say, well, how are they going to talk about we're condemned by the law? We also are supported when we adhere to the law. Continue.
Verse 3, it reads, Do righteousness and justice verse 4. A haughty look and a proud heart, the tillage of the wicked is sin.
Okay.
The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but everyone that is hasty hasteth only to want.
Okay, right in there. Now, we constantly go back to that quick witch scheme. The thing is that if you're diligent, and what you do, you look at all variables and you consider and you take your time. That's what diligency is. You're taking the time and mapping things out. But haste make waste, like I said before. So if you're in a hurry to do something, most times you're not considering all the variables, and you're gonna be reckless. So that's why they're talking about, and it's here. A lot of Proverbs repeat itself, but in a different fashion. All right, because we heard something like this here, baby, in the 10th chapter, around the 4th verse. Continue.
Verse 6, it reads, the getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vapor driven to and fro. They that seek them seek death. The violence of the wicked shall drag them away, because they refuse to do justly.
And that means right there, you get caught up. It's a saying. What an entangled web we weave when we first practice how to deceive. You get trapped up in your own web, and that's what this verse basically telling you, that the violence of the wickedness shall drag them away, because they refuse to do justly. All right. So now, this is usually more addressed to people of authority in that sense. And a lot of times, some people would think about their environment. I'm a product of my environment. I'm forced to do this here. This is how I'm living. You can't really blame me for my social behavior, because everybody else is doing this. All right. But you are responsible, no matter as an individual, no matter whether you're poor, got poor genes, or anything like that. You can rise above your circumstances. And that's the beauty of it. Continue.
Verse 8, it reads, the way of a man is forward and strange, but as for the pure, his work is right.
Keep going.
It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than in a house in common with a contentious woman.
So that's that right then and there. Now you know what hangs out in the corners. Bugs, spiders, mildew, all that kind of stuff. And you don't have very little room to move, but it says it's better that than being in a house with a contentious woman. That means that Shalom Bayit, a peaceful home. Most people, when they go to work, and in some societies, especially, I know brothers and sisters like that from the job I work. They will go to work and go to the job because they hate to come home. And yet, when you come home, you're supposed to be rushing to get home. You're supposed to say, "Oh, I'm gonna leave all this stuff outside. I can come to my own sacred spot." So coming home is what's supposed to be the peaceful environment. Even wild creatures have dens that they feel secure in. So, and they rush to get back to their den. They hate to really leave the den. Even birds in the nest. If a bird get too big, say, you got to leave the nest. They don't want to leave because everything is comfortable. People themselves, you're supposed to create a good environment in your home. And when you don't have that good environment, when you rather be at work or be outside than coming home, then the stems at home, and we need to fix that. And that's what is important, because that's where you're going to rest your head. That's where you're going to eat your meals. That's where you're going to take care of your whole social hygienes. All that stuff, it got to have a certain type of peace and environment. And society today, when they look at, say, a woman could enhance the house or could make the house terrible. And sometimes a man do it, but most times, the house is more like the woman's domain. She makes it beautifies it and everything like that. One of the things that's spoken on is that when and I spoke on it yesterday when I was inside when I was in this group talk in the synagogue, is that the first time God said is something's no good is when he talked about man. And when he said it was no good, why do we say it's no good when it concerned man? Because one, he created to help me. Because if it's no good, man's going to take. But who do he give anything to? God is a giver. So if God is a giver, he wants us, he said, take from them that's willing to give. So the thing is that it's the reciprocal, running hand in hand. So the man, when he said it was no good, he need feedback, and he need to be able to contribute to something and also gain from something. So when you're able to give and receive and give and receive, then you become a contributory and you act more like the creator does and giving. Now, what we give the creator, he don't need, but it's the act of giving that we feel good about doing. And that's what it's all about. Continue.
Verse 10, it reads, the soul of the wicked desireth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes.
Okay, continue.
When the scorner is punished, the thoughtless is made wise. And when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge.
Okay, ain't that something? All right. So then a guy that's a dummy, when he says scorner, saying certain thing. I mean, when you say thoughtless, and not necessarily, like have a mental deficiency, but he don't care and he's reckless. When you see another person that's reckless and scorning and carrying on and get tightened up, he said, oh man, I got to watch out for that. So without judgment in a society, everybody will run rampant and might will make right. Continue.
It reads, the righteous one considereth the house of the wicked, overthrowing the wicked to their ruin.
Keep going.
Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be answered.
I mean, we are told not to hide our eyes, act like we don't see a situation that's desperate for an individual that we got help in. Hey, now I work for New York City Transit, years. So they have this rule in transit, no solicitation, and everything like that. So, people be drumming and doing little things on the train and begging and stuff like that there. So if I'm in uniform saying New York City Transit Authority, MTA, then I'll be violating a particular rule that's posted all over the system about contributing to somebody soliciting. And some people be genuine and some people just be hustling. That's their job. That's the hustle. All right. So the thing is that some people on the train that's not in uniform, look down, don't want to look up. And some people you can see they going back and forth, making a living on this. And I know, I know from experience working there for 30 plus years that some panhandlers that's really okay, they make a living out of that. And one of the guys I happened to see, because I was working there every day, he said, I had a bad day, man. I only made a couple $100 a day, tax free. And he said that was a bad day. He only made a little more than a couple $100 just panhandling. Now, how many people, and we're talking about as late as maybe I've been retired since 2014. So you're talking about maybe 2011 guys telling me this here about he had a bad day. He only made 200 and some change today. He got to step it up. tomorrow. So how many people make that kind of money a day, tax free? All right, and he don't put the 8 hours in to do it. Continue.
Verse 14. A gift in secret pacifieth anger, and a present in the bosom strong wrath.
Okay. All right. So it let you know, man. It could be, a bribe. But basically talking more like a bribe, you know. But go ahead. But go ahead. Continue.
Verse 15. To do justly is joy to the righteous, but ruin to the workers of iniquity.
Okay. Continue.
The man that strayeth out of the way of understanding shall rest in the congregation of the shades.
Okay. The man that strayeth out of the way of understanding shall rest in the congregation of the shades. All right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Uh, it said that's a nice cemetery over there. Yeah, remember so and so? Yeah, man. I know he was gonna last long. Yeah, never gonna last long because that's what he did. You know, so he had to put him, bury him. All right. So you could live a reckless life. That's what. Continue.
Verse 17. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich.
Okay, right then and there. uh, you know, those things we used to have a saying in the street. You know, and a paradise, a whiskey glass, and a woman. And keep a man broke. So here it is that if you love wine itself, you know, that he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. That means right then and there that that's all you deal with. You're just looking for self gratification, internally and externally. That's it. All right, continue.
Verse 18. The wicked is a ransom for the righteous, and the faithless cometh in the stead of the upright.
In other words, a ransom for the righteous. That means God said, look, I'm going to put this guy in your place. I'm going to save you. This guy need the whipping. This guy needed the torture. You don't need the torture. So therefore, that's, you're being replaced in that sense, by somebody who deserved that spot. And that's one of the things is, when, role reversal and trading places. So a lot of times, if you live a righteous life, then you ain't got to worry about your role reversal being brought down low, But if you live a wicked life, you know what I mean? And especially the person that would try to, set somebody up, that role reversal will come around, Continue.
Verse 19. It is better to dwell in a desert land than with a contentious, fretful woman.
All right. I didn't write this Proverbs and stuff like that, but to let you know that relationships, only, and it tends to seem, I know people say it's always written by a man, and stuff like that. I know I hear that a lot. But what is important, women don't realize the real power they got to make something great or make something terrible. Because it's only Eve's voice and not her words that convinced Adam to do what he did. And God told Abraham to listen to his wife's voice. The anxiety, she might not express her words correctly, but the really intentions behind it, God right way in her heart, saying, yeah, that's the right move to make. You get rid of that woman and her son, away from Isaac. Because Isaac going to be on a unique mission. He's going to be influenced by his older brother. So we don't need that kind of influence there. So listen to the voice, because she didn't express it well. And Abraham went to the extreme and listened to the words itself. But later in history, you find out that, hey, I ain't getting rid of these kids that way. But he remember they could be influenced on Isaac. That's why I said he gave them gifts and sent them away from Isaac while he yet lived, because he didn't want that negative influence, to corrupt Isaac. Continue.
Verse 20. There is a desirable treasure in oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man swalloweth it up.
Keep going.
He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, prosperity, and honor.
Okay, that's what you got to follow. I mean, it may not seem like it. Some people think because you're trying to be righteous and show mercy that you're going to take a loss. You never take a loss for God doing the right thing. Continue.
Verse 22. A wise man scaleth the city of the mighty, and bringeth down the stronghold wherein it trusteth.
All right. So that means right then and there, it's better strength and wisdom than because when you got wisdom itself, you know how to make things work in your favor. Continue.
Verse 23. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles.
All right. A lot of times some of us talk too much. Like I was saying just the other day, I said, talk is so cheap. People do it in their sleep. Actions deep, So a lot of times when you talk in your sleep, you don't know what you're saying, and you're not necessarily want people to really hear what you're saying. And when somebody say, I heard you last night while you were asleep saying so and so and so and so. I did. I didn't mean to say that. You sure I said that? Did I tell on myself? What else I said? Why? Because you want to know if you reveal certain secrets or whatever the case is. All right. But, so the thing is that you go to sleep with things in your mind, so sometimes you got to control that tongue. A lot of times hostility exists between people strictly from what was said. And sometimes the miscommunication of what was said, the hostility intensified. And once you say something, you can never take it back. And you say, well, I didn't really mean to come out like that. I didn't really mean to say it like that. But it's done. And it's in that individual's mental Rolodex. And it's never going to go away, no matter what you say, because that going to resonate, and you're going to put that on file, emergency, they're going to put that on emergency file, Continue. We got a few more verses.
Verse 24. A proud and haughty man scorner is his name, even he that dealeth in overbearing pride.
Keep going.
The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor.
I mean, nobody don't want to work. Expect to eat, expect to live. Keep going. 26.
Verse 26, it reads, there is that coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not.
A person that always wants something that's not theirs. I see what you got. You don't deserve that. I need that. The 10th commandment is thou shalt not covet. You're thinking not only that I want something like that, but that individual don't deserve that. That's what the 10th commandment is about. That I not only want what he has, I'm saying that individual don't deserve that. Continue.
Verse 27, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with the proceeds of wickedness?
All right. A lot of times, you say, well, should we accept money from evildoers, from illicit gain? And that's always a big question. I'm going to leave that one on the top of the table, because a person might have earned the money in the most vile area. And yet we read in the book, it says, thou shalt not take the price of it and bring the price of a dog or the hire of a whore, to the house of God. All right. But then so many institutions have people that has real illicit activities, real corrupt activities, and they support these institutions. And some of them actually become members of certain institutions and under the heading of a God religious, group. And so the Proverbs, stating one thing, but what actually exists in a lot of society is another thing. And you got to say, well, where do we stand on? You know, do we accept this money like that? And my experience from past time, and I know I'm going a little bit over, but my experience in past thing is that a lot of times in the fast lane, around my circles, in the fast lane, all the money they had way back then, you say, well, why is it that nothing is stabilized and standing from all the money that they had way back then now? It's because of the corruption and the illicit way it's gotten. You can't destroy people and build at the same time for people. It doesn't work like that. All right, continue.
Verse 27, I believe.
All right.
The sacrifice.
28. 28.
All right. Verse 28. A false witness shall perish, but the man that obeyeth shall speak unchallenged.
Keep going.
A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he looketh well to his way.
Okay. Wicked man said, I'm a frown up to scare you. don't try to read me down. But go ahead. 30.
Verse 30. There is no wisdom, no understanding, no counsel against Yehovah.
All right. Right then and there. Keep going.
The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but victory is of Yehovah.
Okay, right then and there. So that means you're trusting in God. So you can't have no wisdom counsel against the Creator. That's what it's all about. Those are important things to consider. Because a lot of times people try to say, well, we're going to take counsel against God. Can you imagine that? And he know that anything before it exists, but yet we can counsel against him. Like he don't know the plan. So this is things we got to consider in the Proverbs that he tries the hard. So I know earlier we were speaking about spirituality and about and about do we follow spirituality? But the thing is that it's about our works, and in our works and our actions. It's a sense of spirituality and that sense in our action and our works, because when you got the thing, the word ruach for spirit, wind, and also spirit, wind itself. That's what ruach means, spirit, wind, and sometimes referred to as mind. Those three definitions, the mind state. Then you got a nefesh, which is a soul. Those connotations are slightly different, because just like the words are different. What is a soul? What is a combination of what? Or is, it only is this been that combination is brought together, a body and neshama, which is breath. So those type of things. But when you talk about holiness, kadosh means to separate. Separate from what? To what? So in your separation itself, you could separate to do good and choose a laudable undertaking, or you can separate to do a wicked undertaking. That's why we got terms like Kadesha, which is they separate, but it's used in the sense of a temple prostitute, but it has the same root in that sense. So the thing is that by following the laws of God, and have been told a man what the Lord required: do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before your Creator. Because you might think you got it all down packed, but not necessarily so. So therefore, we got to employ the will of God in our lives, and that's how we build up the spiritual. Because when you're thinking about the Creator, that's spiritual. I don't know I can't see your thoughts. All right, when you utter those words, I can't see those words. All right, when we pray, those words, I hear them. I might understand some of them, but I can't see them. And you're praying and looking upward, but what I see is a wall and no animation or anything. So then my thoughts is going beyond it and say, what is a thought? I can't see a thought, but a word is a vocalization of a thought. So those concepts you can constantly go back and forth with. So, it takes a lot of discussion, but we are supposed to be holy, separate. And that's what the book says, being holy and separate. And in our separation, we don't just stop and say, I'm standing over here and everybody else over there. In my separation, I got to act like all those on the Lord's side. So with that, I hope you got something what I said. Any mistakes been my own, leave a comment in the chat. And any question I'll try to address. So Shalom. Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah Rabbi Nasik, Torah for your insight and for your wisdom. May the Most High God bless you. Shalom, shalom. And everyone have a blessed and a peaceful Shabbat rest. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Get ready to experience the Unity Shabbat Kum, a celebration of praise and glory to the Most High Yah, hosted by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This event promises a day filled with spiritual upliftment, community unity, and joyful fellowship. Come together with fellow brothers and sisters to honor and worship as we celebrate the divine presence in our lives. For more information and to reserve your spot, contact us at 347-622-9090 or email us at info@baitdcb.org. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, rejoice, and experience the power of unity and faith. Once again, brothers and sisters, experience the beauty of unity and faith at Unity Shabbat Kum, presented by Congregation Beit D.C.B. Join us on May 25th, 2024 at Shell's Loft, Brooklyn, located at 120 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. This special day is dedicated to praising the Most High Yah and coming together as a community and worship and celebration. Whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment or simply looking to connect with like-minded individuals, this event offers an uplifting experience for all. Reserve your spot today by contacting us at 347-622-9090 or emailing us at info@baitdcb.org. Let's gather in unity and embrace the spirit of togetherness as we honor the divine presence in our lives. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.